But as far as jumping in the car, I mean, when I fired the car up to make my first license pass on, I think it was Wednesday before your event, that was the first time I had ever even I had sat in a Pro Stock car while it was running. Like that was the first time that yeah.
Because I'm telling you, man, so a student of this game, admitted, I fancy myself a trained eye. And watching you do that first burnout, the throttle control, everything, I mean, literally backing up from it, that whole situation, I'm like, you looked, and honestly, Kyle Koretsky did a really good job. He was in a very similar situation as you whenever he made his Pro Stock debut. But you did an incredible job, man. I mean, it just felt like, have you heard that from the people around you? I mean, you got some incredible mentors, Greg Anderson, Jason Line. These guys are like gods out here in the Pro Stock world. Is that guy, I mean, do they look at you as like, did they give you a ribbing? Did they give you a hard time that you make this look easy?
Yeah, pretty much everybody's told me that I've made it look easy, and I've been doing a fantastic job. Obviously, everything that I focus on is just everything that I screw up, which for the most part, most people can't see of all the little stuff that I do that I screw up, like, you know, just simple little things of bringing the RPM up too much or over revving the burnout a little bit. It's all little stuff that I focus on, but I guess that's just part of the striving for perfection.
What is the perfect, take us through, and I would love to talk about the experience that you're having right now. Obviously, I'm sure it was nowhere near on your radar to be like in a championship hunt, right? To be in the mix with these people that many of us grew up looking up to and aspiring to one day be somewhat near their accomplishments. And here you are beating them in a lot of different instances and having developed yourself as a real threat on the NHRA Pro Stock circuit. But you touched on something that I want to ask about. This gets talked about a lot, but I don't know that anybody's really done that great of a job of explaining some of these nuances. We hear all the time, these are the hardest cars to drive, NHRA Pro Stock cars. They're very detail oriented. It's finesse. It's perfection, whether it's the gear change or whatever it is. Take us through, like, what is a perfect burnout? You hear a lot of these cars. I mean, there's a variety of them that you hear. You hear the one age-old tradition of just bouncing it off the burnout rev limiter and making anybody that knows anything about valve train really, really nervous.
Yeah.
And then there's
really don't like that.
It's not a great thing. But then there's the approach of like kind of letting it hit the rev limiter maybe once and pulling back off of it. I'm curious, when you're being coached, Dallas, take us through what is a perfect burnout in an NHRA Pro Stock car. What are those that teach you, look for you to do out there?
One of the things that a good burnout for me is, you know, there's kind of just a finesse of the throttle when you really got to snap the clutch off. And if you hit the tire real good with enough RPM, the car won't want to kick sideways hardly at all. So if you ever see, you know, a burnout start and it just hits the tire real good,
immediately starts to wash out.
Yeah, if it starts to wash out real bad, it could be they didn't have enough RPM, they didn't hit the clutch hard enough, maybe the tires were a little dry. So all of those things kind of come into play. If you hit it hard enough, I mean, obviously, you know, not too hard where it zings the motor real bad or anything like that. But if you hit it hard enough and you run through the gears and let go of the line lock and everything just goes nice and straight, and then it makes it so you can hit the exact spot that you're trying to hit. You know, you always see the guy out there in front that dives out of the way at the last second. You're basically trying to hit his foot. And so he's standing right on a specific point. So you're trying to hit it within an inch or two. So
whenever you're backing it, this is one of the things that I think is interesting. When you put that thing in rewind, right, pull the reverser level on that Liberty transmission and start backing up, I think a lot of people think that it's like you're in there giving it a little gas and like letting off the clutch like you would be backing out of your driveway with a stick shift car. You want your foot, you want to get that thing moving and your foot back on the clutch all the way engaged as quick as possible, correct? I mean, because those are all things that crew chiefs are taking into consideration. If this guy's riding the clutch all the way back, backing it up from the burnout, or having to do that motion multiple times, it can affect the tune-up.
Yeah, one of the biggest things with the Pro Stock, especially with the clutch, is consistency. You know, if you say, you know, going back to the burnout, and say if you don't have enough RPM and it tries sticking the tire and it can put a lot of heat in the clutch, that greatly affects what it locks up when you leave the starting line. So, you know, all the little things, how fast you back up, how long you're on the clutch backing up. It all puts heat in the clutch. So how the name of the game is consistency with these cars.